Greetings and salutations, fellow nerds and nerd adjacents. So I'm doing something different this month than I've ever really done my entire life as far as I can remember, and that's actually making and documenting a TBR pile. I'm making a pile of books that I'm hoping to read through this month, and I figured for the added little bit of stress, anxiety, and accountability, I'll invite you along to make fun of me when I don't hit my counts or encourage me online because you're really cool people to keep moving forward to reach my goals. Obviously, there's a caveat here. I read a lot of different stuff. I love fantasy, sci-fi. That's kind of my like sweet spot, my bread and butter for all of the stuff I like to read. But I read a lot of different things too. And within fantasy and sci-fi, I have a pretty diverse sort of like space I go into. I've got kids, so I'm also reading YA, middle grade fantasy and sci-fi along with them or ahead of them just to see if like is this something they might be interested in. So all that being said, I've got 9 books, and with I'll give you my final page count because I've actually done the math, assuming Goodreads is accurate in their estimation for all these pages, and of the pages I'm hoping to read this month. And you can let me know yours down in the comments below as well. So these are no particular order, and I'll pop up pictures of these. I don't have all, actually, only for a handful of these, though, I have physical copies of the books, either in my person right now or, from the library. A lot of what I'm reading, I don't own. I'm getting from the library, either through audiobooks on Hoopla, which if you don't use Hoopla, I'm not sponsored by Hoopla, but sure wish I was because Hoopla is awesome. Obviously, you get it for free. Most people can get it at the library. If you get Hoopla or Libby, audiobooks are a great boon if you can tolerate listening rather than reading, or listening and reading, which is something I like to do. I like to listen to a book, not at the exact same moment that I'm reading it, but maybe I'll listen while I'm driving around, and at night when I have a little more dedicated, a couple of hours before bed, I can read those, just hammer through and really plow through books. That's my current preferred way to read. So without further ado, book 1 is going to be Rise of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. So if you don't know the Rhaenyra Revelations series, I'll write that out here. Michael J. Sullivan is an author who's been around for a while now, and I had never read anything by him. I was poking around, I don't remember where, somewhere for a book list of fantasy books, and I've really enjoyed. I read the first book, I just finished it. I can't include that in my August TBR because I finished it at the end of July, but it was a lot of fun. Book 1 was fun, and books 2 and 3, I'm in the midst of book 2, Rise of Empire, and that one has been fun so far. Looking forward to finishing that one. If you haven't read any of them, I don't want to give anything away plot wise, but the basic premise is there's these 2 buddies that are thieves. One is like a mercenary / warrior guy, and the other one is just a really incredibly gifted thief, and they've teamed up to do some pretty cool stuff. They do a lot of heists and that kind of thing. They set up an organization where they are able to be very successful, and that winds them up in all kinds of wacky, zany, and unexpected places. So this is sort of like it's not by the numbers, so like paint by numbers fantasy. There's some fun story elements to me, but it is not afraid of the fact that it's a fantasy, and it's there's going to be some tropes involved. There are elves, there are goblins. There are some of like the creatures you expect. I love the world building in this series, and so I am excited to just keep moving forward with it so far. So that's been fun. So Rise of Empire is number 1, and again, these are in no specific order. They're just in the order that I put them on my list. If you see me looking off to the side, I'm not ignoring you. I wrote these down, and I have them on my like notes thing pulled up here. So that's why I'm kind of looking off to the side, like I'm kind of never mind. The book 2 is Heir of Navran, which is the third book, the second of my books by Michael J. Sullivan I'm reading. So again, it's following the same 2 characters, finishing through this plot arc. And there's an entire like massive set of other information in the same world that Sullivan has written, which I'll get into after I read these 3. So I'm looking forward to that, but looking forward to reading that one. So I should have said this before, but Rise of Empire was 786 pages. And the Heir of Navran is supposed to be about 924 pages. Okay, so that's where we're chugging along here. The next book is I think it's considered YA, fantasy, urban, sci-fi kind of thing. Calculated by Nova McBee. I've never read this book. I'd only heard of it through someone online has recommended it, and my wife was like, "Hey, maybe you'd like this. You should check it out because it might be interesting." Again, I read a lot of different stuff, and I'm really interested in Asian perspectives on sort of this fantasy, sci-fi. I having lived in Asia in my past, not like, I didn't go back in time, but having lived in Asia in my previous life, I have just a great appreciation, fondness for Asian storytelling. So there's a couple of these perspectives that I want to hear from, like the authors who this is like either a place that they know because it's their own life, this is their own perspective, or they've done the research to kind of like think through good character development. You don't have to be from a culture, I don't think, to write it well, but you have to be willing to actually learn about that culture to write it well. And there's been a lot of, when it comes to like real life fiction, there's a lot of sort of cringy stuff that happens when people write and they have never lived in the place, or they don't know it, or they haven't researched it adequately, and it's just not really a just rendering of what that worldview might look like. So Calculated is a book that is, so the Goodreads blurb at the top says, set in Shanghai and Seattle, Calculated is a gritty modern day blend of The Count of Monte Cristo and Mission Impossible. Well, that just sounds fun, doesn't it? Like an action book. I don't read a ton of like action page turners. I've read a few, and I'm like, well, why not? I just like broaden my little horizons here and check it out. So I don't, it's looking forward to just kind of diving into it, see how it goes. And we'll see what happens there. This is 380 pages, so it's not a very big book. Just kind of like a quick. It is part of a series as well, so if I enjoy it, then I've got more books to read, which is always fun. The next book I've already actually started, and that is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio, and this is it's a Korean fantasy. It's an enthralling retelling of a classic Korean folktale, perfect for fans of Wintersong, Uprooted, and Miyazaki's Spirited Away. Of course, I'm a fan of Miyazaki's Spirited Away, and who isn't? But it's just a really interesting sort of fairy tale, and I love fairy tales, folk tales, and the little bits I've already read have been really fun, and so I will let you know what I think about that. But FYI, that one is 325 pages, and I'm looking forward to just kind of seeing how this ends. Again, this book and a few other ones on my list are in first person, and I have mixed feelings about first person. I've read first person books that I've really liked, and I've read first person books that like throw me out of the story, and I don't enjoy that, but I'm willing to give that a shot. If the story's good. I think it's got great ratings. A lot of people appreciate it, and if it's a good book, this is a book I can recommend to my kids to read, especially because of like it's a fairy tale, which is always a win. It's from kind of a different perspective on sort of the genre of fantasy, which is kind of nice, and it's just nice to have more books to read. So okay, there's that one. The next book is getting out of my sort of more youthful books that I've got here. The first two were definitely adult fantasy. The second two are middle grade, young adult, that kind of thing. And this next one is decidedly not for the kids. It's Jade City, which is part of the Green Bone saga by Fonda Lee. I've never read this one. I've heard lots about it. It's amazing that I haven't read it yet, but here we are. It is now 2025, and I am ready and just diving in. So this book has been on my TBR list internally. So this is the reason I'm making this list now, because I have like this sort of I'd like to read that book one day sort of list, and actually having a list where I'm going to say I'm planning to read that this month gives me some motivation to do it. So it's really cool. I love the premise behind it. I love this idea of the magic system as I've read it. I love that it's there's a lot of sort of kung fu, Godfather, crime lord sort of stuff going on. So I'm excited to sort of see how that works, what happens with that sort of world building. 540 pages for those of you keeping track at home. The next one is, I guess you could say in some sense, youngish, but it is an Ursula K. Le Guin book. It's part of the Earth-Sea cycle. This is book number 4, Tehanu, and I've read earlier this year, through the past couple of months, I listened to or read the other Earthsea books. Wizard of Earthsea, Tombs of Atuan, The Farthest Shore, now Tehanu for the 4 of these books. And there's a bunch of other things that Le Guin wrote, but I really enjoyed the first 3, so I'm excited to sort of finish the main story arc that involves the characters that I've come to meet so far. And really, really enjoy Le Guin's storytelling. I love the world building. I love the magic system. I love it's very unique, and there's a lot of really beautiful imagery, and it's very inspiring for work that I'm doing on my own. In some ways, just because it's also there's some just very unique ways to look at magic in terms of wizards and mages, how that operates in the world. I love the treatment of dragons in this series. So lots of interesting things here. I'll give a full my thoughts on some of those books in another video. If that's interested, let me know if that's something you'd like to hear, because this is a full sort of established series that many people have read and people have had to read for different reasons. If you want to know my thoughts on the specific thing, and let me know. I'd be happy to do that. It'd be really fun. So I'm reading once I finish this book, obviously. So Tahanu is 281 pages. So another very quick read or listen if that's what you're doing. Next, Dungeon Crawler Carl. Again, this book has been around for a while. I've heard a lot of things about it. I've heard many people talk that it's a lot of fun. I've never read any lit RPG books. I've played a lot of RPGs and I've read a lot of fantasy books, but I've never combined them into a book. And I realized there's a whole series of animes that's this way. There's a whole series of books, novels, fantasy, whatever, that are in this genre. And so I'm interested to see how this kind of plays out. I've heard that it's kind of wild. And I'll let you know my thoughts on that. So Dungeon Crawler Carl is 446 pages. And just to give a general idea, my favorite part of this is the tagline is the apocalypse will be televised. General idea is basically Earth gets turned into a giant dungeon and you gotta fight your way through it, and people who are watching the show can give you drops of loot and to help you get have the equipment you need to get through the game. Really interesting premise. Another book now that this has been really aggravating for me is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. I haven't read, and I've heard only incredible things about. My library doesn't hold it because it was self-published, which is insane because this book has got so many, the reviews on it are incredible. And I mean, so again, me getting books from the library has nothing to do with me not wanting to give money to authors. I love buying books physically. I'm just on a budget, right? So I have to be very selective in the books that I buy. And libraries are great for people who want access to books. And I know I can get it online. Just ebook can be, they're affordable. I have seen an audiobook on that. I think is on Hoopla. So I'll check that out if I can't get it another way. Sword of Kaigen is 651 pages. And to give the vibe of what this is, a mother struggling to repress her violent past, a son struggling to grasp his violent future, a father blind to the danger that threatens them all. I mean, that's a fun tagline, isn't it? Right? I think so. Anyway, the final book that I added to my list is Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, which it comes in at 800 pages, so it's a beefy little guy. And the copy that I have, which is not on the shelf in here, it's downstairs, is one of those trade hardbacks. It's nice and small, and the print is not ideal, but I'm nearsighted, so that doesn't bother me. But I haven't read The Wheel of Time. What self-respecting nerd has not yet read The Wheel of Time? Well, this guy, this self-respecting nerd right here has not read all of The Wheel of Time, so I'm looking forward to knocking that out and checking that box off. And I've not read the entirety of this book, so I'm just going to kind of begin now and plug along for the rest of my life as I finish this series to make that an accomplishment. So there you have it, my August TBR pile. And if you have done the math at home, which I'm sure you have, you broke out your abacus slide rule or some other form of multi-fingered apparatus and have calculated the number, you want to check your math. According, assuming my math is right, 9 books, and that's 4,733 pages I'm expecting myself to read this month. What books are you reading in August? I'd love to hear. Let me know if you're reading any of the same books, if you've read any of the same books, if you've hated or loved any of these books, or if you have books that I should have on this list that aren't. I'm going to have a whole other month after August to read more books, and I might not even get through these. Something might happen. My car could blow up, or we could have an apocalypse that's televised or not, and I won't know. I'll run out of my ability to read or listen to books, So we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are, and I look forward to talking to you next time about my thoughts on all of these books. Woo!